Okay, it's Supernal Magazine Australia time here, and potentially going to be sending this out to Supernal Radio. We're with special guest Damian Donoghue from Super Health and superhealth.com.au, and he's a specialist in tonic herbs, superfoods, detoxing, and as part of our issue number 43, we're really covering this detox stuff in it. So, Damian, welcome aboard again, following up
Thank
on
you,
the last
Anthony.
issue. How are you doing?
Yeah, going well, thank you. Excited to be chatting with you today. We had a good chat last time, so looking forward to it.
Yeah, well, this one's going to be a bit different because we've got a bit of a list of questions about detoxing, and I really want to sort of give people some nuts and bolts about the where and the why and how they start and what they're trying to do in detoxing. Because a lot of people just think, oh yeah, detox the liver and everything's good. Well, the liver is a really important part of the body and it
Yes.
affects everything else. But you know, how do we start? And I want to aim this at, let's face it, at the guys out there in this world too. That a lot of guys are quite happy to sit back and do a bit of stuff, but then how do they do it? What do they do? That sort of thing.
Yeah.
But more importantly, what prompted you? What drove you to detox in the first time, and then lead you to start up your business?
Oh, okay. So it was about 24 years ago, and I was suffering with extreme fatigue, and I'd gone from doctor to doctor, and then eventually started going to naturopaths, asking for questions, asking the question like, "What's going on? Where's my energy? Why can't I function?" And no one could really give me a clear answer. And this is 24 years ago now, so we didn't have the knowledge around health and chronic fatigue, and situations like that. And so what I found myself suffering with this severe fatigue, that I just had to start researching, and bit by bit I realized you can do juicing and eating different foods. And my idea of energy was have a cup of coffee. And I thought you have coffee and it gives you energy, right? I had no idea the connection to food and energy.
Yeah.
So I launched my journey, which started off with juicing, and then I've very quickly evolved to looking at different superfoods. This term superfoods we hear these days. And what is a superfood? Well, my definition of a superfood is a food that contains extremely high levels of phytonutrients. It could have vitamins, minerals, different amino acids, but it's this unique makeup of the superfood that separates it from an orange or a piece of broccoli. They're good foods, but they don't necessarily have a complex, very potent array of phytochemicals, as the superfoods that I'm working with these days, which we're going to talk all about. So yeah, that's where the journey began. I started fasting and taking different detox supplements, and over an 8-year period of this suffering, I couldn't even function. I really had to have a coffee or some sort of stimulant to get through the day. But an 8-year journey, I really tucked into all this. I started exercising, actually trying to breathe, move the stress out of your body. And 8 years later, I've turned it all around, and all of a sudden I've got energy and vitality restored. And so then I set out to inspire others. I thought, if it can work for me, it can work for others, right?
Well, that's the thing, and we hear that catchphrase a lot, except that in sometimes it's the knowledge is not there to impart, to share. It's like, I guess in a way, like myself as the editor, I know a lot about a little bit of each topic, but not
Yes.
enough to even profess to be good at it. The typical journeyman of, learning all this stuff all the time, and then a month later it's gone because I'm learning all this new stuff. And so being passionate about helping yourself, I think, is where people are very good at least then being able to say, well, look, I've done it, this is how I've done it. There were a lot of probably not so good times in all of that as well. And I sort of, what in just in that, because people just think, oh yes, automatic cure, take this and it's fixed.
Yeah, the magic bullet, right?
Magic bullet. Well, we know there's no such thing as a magic bullet.
Yeah, no, we never sold those at the health store. I know that, the magic bullets.
Yeah, I think you'd be a rich man by now if you did.
Yeah.
So in that, then you weren't well. You're struggling. You started that journey. You found that sort of there wasn't always a fix in Western medicine that was not coming with side effects, because just seems to be everything you get in that space. And please don't yell at me, Western people, being balanced. But a lot of the drugs that I know that people have been put on for things like depression and to try and get weight loss and to try and get the energy back and all the rest of it, they seem to come with a list of side effects.
Oh, big time, and that was, what was presented to me was, there wasn't a medicine at the time for chronic fatigue. Like anyone with extreme fatigue, there wasn't something they could prescribe, and it wasn't until later on you started hearing they've become more and more familiar with this chronic fatigue. Still didn't really recognize it that much, but yeah, seeing the Western medicine, there's a time and place for it. There's always a time and place for it. But if you can get your body to function and restore that homeostasis, bring it back to that state of balance the way you were designed, then man, let's do it. If nature can do that, let's follow that path. Why take this synthetic compound that's been made by a company that's really focused on profits? Let's focus on how can we heal ourselves with the tools that were presented in Mother Nature.
Absolutely. And I can't agree more. I mean, I've gone from a person that just ate what they ate and drank what they drank and never thought really twice about it until I started Supernal, in a way. Because I've always eaten reasonably well and I love all my veggies and all that sort of stuff.
Yes.
However, it's when you start realizing what's actually in a lot of these, especially processed foods. They seem to be like the worst thing for us, is these processed foods. And there's a lot of, and as we talked about, there's a lot of information out there on the net, and for people it can get really confusing about what to do and how to do it anyway. And so they just go from one thing to the next and they're not really sure. And of course then they don't get a result, and then they go, it mustn't be any good. And come back to what you said, back to that sort of homeostasis, that space in the middle that's perfect for each body type that we are, each blood group that we are, and look after ourselves in that space. So what if you're going to give readers and people that are listening to this video a suggestion about the struggles? What would be the struggles that you really struggle with the most, that they're going to get caught up in, that you can support them in that?
Got you. Yeah, I would say I struggle with most of it initially, because you're shaking up your life. You've had this life of conditioning, and we've been conditioned to eat certain foods. We've been conditioned to think a certain way, conditioned to move certain ways. And it was breaking down that conditioning was the hardest thing. And adjusting to these different foods. I remember going on to soy milk because a naturopath put me on it in the early days. And this soy milk, you go from a dairy to this weird milk in some container that's like, God knows where it's come from, some bean. And it was just a weird change. And now I'd never recommend soy to people, but it was part of the stepping stone. And I remember trying to pour this on food, cereals and things like that, soy milk. It just was weird. So the biggest thing is, you're going to have a shake up with everything that passes through your mouth. And so it's being patient, and it's being open to explore flavors, textures, and different ways of doing things. Waking up to a cup of coffee to me now just is probably one of the most insane things that I can imagine a person would do to their body, because all you need when you wake up is some water to flush the system. If you can prolong that fast, right, the breakfast, if you can prolong that and stay in that fasted state for longer, is great, just on water, maybe lemon and water. But people are drinking this coffee down. I did the same thing. The first thing I drink would be a caffeinated drink, and then probably another one after that. you know.
Mm-hmm.
So you're kicking your adrenals in, fight and flight, all your stress hormones are moving around now, you're ready to go. But I know one thing for sure is you're going to crash. You're going to come down at the end of the day and you're going to crash.
Mm.
And
yep.
and so just accepting that that was not my reality anymore. You know, how can I mix up some real funky green elixir in the morning that I know is going to light up every cell in my body? You know, that's what I got into, is just thinking, I want those cells to come alive. And that's what I realized. The energy wasn't in the coffee. That's a fake energy. That's grabbing your adrenal glands and squeezing that last bit of energy out that you didn't have already.
Yeah, no, I
So
totally get that.
I
Totally get
really
that.
got passionate about feeding my cells and creating cellular energy, where my cells fired each morning and I'd wake up and I didn't need a stimulant to get me going. And so my advice to people is be open to explore these flavors, taste new things, try small amounts, you know, don't go too hard. You know, some of the times, I don't know how many of you take psyllium husk out there, but I remember in a bid to clean out my digestive tract, I would drink heavy amounts of psyllium husk. And you're just full of this big bulking mass, which is great because when you eliminate, it takes all the waste with it. But I just remember the volumes I was drinking was just ridiculous. So I would say go slow, be open to new flavors, and be open to explore different things. Really shake up everything you've ever done. And don't get stuck in our old ways. You know, be really open that maybe coffee isn't that good for you.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Well,
maybe
go on.
maybe a green drink lighting up all your cells can serve you so much better. It may taste totally different, but that long-lasting effect is so much better.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, isn't it? It is about breaking that conditioning. That's probably one of the single hardest things that I reckon everybody's going to go through, because we're taught from birth that
Yes.
conditioning. And of
Yes.
course, you know, we get out into the big wide world and we just automatically follow that because that's the way, oh no, that's the way mum and dad did it, or that's the way Nana did it, or that's the way this happened. You know, this is what my mates always did.
Yeah.
And so stepping out of that mold, I know when I chose to stop eating red meat, which wasn't particularly about red meat and the way it's prepared or any of that sort of stuff. It was a choice that I made on a spiritual level. But
Yes.
people really struggled with me saying that, no, I'm not going to eat red meat anymore.
Yeah.
And, you know, even to this day, you know, people struggle with the fact that I've, you know, even after probably 25 years now, where I haven't eaten red meat, they really struggle with that whole process of,
Yes.
and so sometimes it's not only breaking your conditioning mold, it's everyone around you that
around
breaking
you.
their mold.
Yes.
And that's an interesting one.
And that's a great point, because I mean, as a person who was eating soy sausages at 22, hanging with the boys, having a barbecue and throwing these weird vegan snaggers on there in a bid to feel well while I'm drinking my vodka in pineapple juice, you know, trying to do the healthiest way possible. So
I love it.
You know, I thank my friends for being so accepting of the alien in the room, you know, because
yeah, and it sort of is a bit weird for some of the stuff. And yeah, I
yeah,
think to be honest with you, in the periods that we grew up and what you went through, and so much has changed since then, because there's now some genuine science out there
yes,
that is proving what we're trying to do and is good for us. And there's
100%.
also an awareness, and I struggle with things like meat-free products. You know, they look like a steak, and apparently they're supposed to taste like a steak, but how are they made? And that concerns me, because I guess in a way, you know, the analogy I'll use from the old days is, we knew what we got in our cigarettes.
Yeah.
So instead of tailor-mades, I smoked rollies because there was no chemical in the rollies. So that was okay, you know. So I knew that, I understood that. But then we've moved into vaping. Now, you know, we don't know what vaping's going to do. in the
No.
long term. But it still can't be good for you to suck in chemicals through into your lungs. So that's just my personal opinion.
Of course.
Right? And so the same goes for all this meat, so-called, you know, meat-free product, meat-free bacon. It's how's it generated to make it look like it? And I did watch how they were doing 3D printing on steaks, and all the chemicals were just being bound together. And I just thought, wow, you know, there's no substitute really for just have the right product instead of all this other product. So if you want to be vegan, that's fine. But I actually don't know any vegans that have gone out and got hamburgers and steaks and cooked them because they're meat free. You know, I wonder about it. And you know, again, the science I don't think is really out there properly yet, and might take a little while for that to happen. And then people might realize. But again, this is just my thoughts, my opinion, based on what I know from my own experience. So it's an interesting one.
And I completely agree with you, you know, like these substitutes, because for a long time I was very much into plant-based food and looking at all these fake meats and whatnot. And this is part of the conditioning, right? The thought that you've got to keep eating a sausage, or you've got to keep eating a steak. I mean, I'm not against meat. After 20 odd years, I've started to introduce meat back into my life now after all the cleaning out. But this hanging on to these old ways, right? And then they're trying to make this weird meat replicas. It's like, let go for a while, dudes. Like, accept that you're going to eat beans and lentils and whole foods and nuts and seeds. Just go with it, you know, go with it. Let that fiber help you eliminate more and go with it, you know?
And that's it. I mean, I'm not above telling people what they should and shouldn't eat. And meat is one of them, because there are some people that need what they get out of meat for whatever reason. And there are others that don't need it and they get it out of plant-based foods. Have the plant-based foods as they are meant to be, not processed into something that looks like
something weird.
Even, you know, it's funny, you know, I used to work in a butcher shop a long time ago, and so I was used to making sausages and doing all sorts of things. And I saw all the preservatives and bits and pieces that went in. And it's only recently I said to my partner, I said, oh, look, I think it's time that if we're going to make chicken sausages, that we actually get real chicken, and actually make them ourselves and cook them on the day. Or we just don't have them, you know. But we could, or mince dishes like, you know, bolognese and stuff like that, where you're buying mince from the supermarkets. Bad luck for the supermarkets hitting this one, but I'd rather go and get the whole product and actually mince it myself. And saves no preservatives, no additives, no anything else, and you can make a beautiful bolognese. You know, we tend to use pork or chicken rather than meat, but you can still have all these foods. You're just making them from scratch, and it just takes a little bit longer, maybe a few more dishes, but just think of the health benefits in all of that. You know,
and it's probably going to cost you more too, because you know you don't want to be buying from a cow that's been injected with antibiotics, fed antibiotics, and all these other chemicalized GM foods. So it may cost you more, but in the long run, you know, like I must say, I don't have a lot of assets these days because I've spent so much money on my health for so long. But man, it's good waking up, not needing a coffee every morning, you know, feeling alive every day, you know. You can't put a price on that.
No, you can't. And, you know, I think since I started having apple cider vinegar every morning, so my first drink is water, 9.5 pH water. And I start with that. I have that by the bed, although I stopped drinking as much water at night these days, because I've learned that you're better off, if you wake up and you've got a dry mouth, just have a mouthful of water, not half a litre of water. And again, from my childhood, that's how I grew up, because, you know, I would go to bed and I'd drink a litre of water at night rather than during the day. So of course, what's processing in my body at night? Kidneys, liver, this, that, everything's going overtime, because I was drinking a litre of water at night rather than, you know, during the day. So now I'm basically back right off to, if I do wake up and I've got a dry mouth, just it's there, grab a mouthful, swirl it around, let it get rid of that dry feeling, and then off you go back to sleep, sort of thing.
That's right. And you're not waking up peeing all night, right?
Well, exactly. I never did really anyway, but that's the cause. You know, you'd get up maybe once a night. I only get up, if lucky, once a night. So,
yeah.
you know, but again, just changing the way we process and how our understanding how our bodies work is just that much better. And again, for my generation of males, and especially a lot of my friends, they don't think like that. They think totally different. So that I'm on this
Yes.
mission to change them.
Yeah.
So with so much stuff on the internet, everywhere you look, there's somebody espousing the values of this diet, that diet, have this shake, that shake. This is how you detox your body. This is what you should do. Now, apart from the fact that, yes, we all need exercise, we all need good, clean food, we all need good, clean water to be healthy. If you wanted to detox, how do you get people to start? I know it's a huge question, but you've done it. How do we get people to detox? What's the best way to start the process?
Yeah. Okay. So there is a million ways to detox, and there is millions of substances to detox from your body. And they don't, all these substances, these toxins, they don't all reside in one place. Some are in the brain, some in the liver, some are in your joints, some are in your cells. They're throughout the body in different areas. So there's no one detox. There's no magic bullet detox that's going to get it all out.
Yep.
And there's no detox, in my opinion, that you can do once a year and thrive in this world. Detoxification has to become a part of your lifestyle, in my opinion. You have to incorporate things in your day-to-day that assist your body at eliminating the poisons we're breathing, the poisons we're absorbing, the off-gassing from furnitures and paints and things in your home, the stuff they spray in the skies, the substances that we've been injected with since we were kids, the medications we've taken, the heavy metals we're exposed to, the pesticides that we've eaten on the foods. So there's so many chemicals. So really, you've got to adapt this detox lifestyle. And so one of the biggest steps that I've really learned for beginning this process is opening up your elimination pathways, which two of the main ones in this case would be your bowels and making sure that you're flushing your bladder, flushing the urine out of the body, right? There are two rapid ways that toxins can leave your body once you give your body the tools it needs to do it. Now, many doctors will tell you your body is designed to detox itself. It's meant to do all this, and you don't need to do all these things. That might have been true hundreds of years ago when we didn't have this vast array of chemicals in our environment. That may have been true then. But now our bodies are overburdened with toxicity. So step one, open up the elimination pathway. You can do that by one, drinking water. So we're flushing with urine. But then we've got to look at our bowels, because so many people are bound up. Like if you're unwell, you must be going to the toilet three times a day, in my opinion. Because if you've got toxicity in there and you're not eliminating every time you eat, we eat normally 3 meals a day. So you eat, the food goes down, moves down the digestive tract, and then pushes your waste out. So every time you eat, ideally we should eliminate. But, you know, I hear of people maybe not going every day, maybe every 2 days, once a week at times. I've heard some horrific stories. So you've got to imagine that's all just sitting in this 7 to 8 meter tube in your gut. So opening up the bowels. So what I do is get into different herbs. You know, we work with different products that improve the elimination pathway. They start to move waste out of the bowels. So you start pooing more, right? Because if you can start eliminating and putting that rubbish down the toilet where it belongs, you've got a chance. Now, that's the first thing. Increase the bowel movements and start cleaning the bowel. So next step is supporting your detox organs, right? Your kidneys, your liver, and your lymphatic system. So there's different herbs that we can use to support that. There's different nutritional supplements and things like your lymphatic system. You know, I love rebounding. Before I jumped on today, I got on the rebounder, which is a mini trampoline. you're jumping up and down. You've got a lymphatic system, which is this network of glands, which is designed to eliminate toxins from your body. And so you get on the rebound and you're moving the fluids in your lymphatic system. Now, they're all one-way valves. So as you're jumping up and down, it's going squirt, squirt, squirt. It's moving it through. Now, you need that stimulation, that movement to detox properly. Otherwise, you'll go and take some things, some detox products I tell you about, your body will release them. And because you're not eliminating properly, you're going to reabsorb them. And that's exactly what I was doing 24 years ago when I started this journey. I was taking all these different superfoods and tonic herbs, and I was mobilizing toxins, but I wasn't eliminating them. Mm-hmm. So supporting the kidney, the liver, the lymphatic system through body movement, herbs, nutrition, focusing on those areas to help that system get it moving, get it ready to detox. So that'll be the next step. Then the game changer comes in. It's the binders. And this is what I wasn't doing. I wasn't using substances that bind to toxins and bind to chemicals, bind to heavy metals. Mm-hmm. So I was taking all these things, mobilizing them, and then feeling like crap all day, headache, sluggish, going, oh, the detox Herxheimer reaction, they call it. And I was feeling this over and over, and what I wasn't doing is binding. But now I know, and this is where your listeners can really fast track things now, because you know this now. It's like, don't start detoxing unless you've got binders. Yep. Activated charcoal, bentonite clay, zeolite, fulvic acid. You know, these are all substances that have the ability to go through your gut, grab hold of toxins, and help you put them down the toilet where they belong. Mm-hmm. So what I do after I start activating your kidney, liver, and lymphatic system is start to add binders in. Get your body ready now to absorb what you're going to dump. And then the next step, we go for heavy metal cleansing. So we start activating. And when I say heavy metal cleansing, it's not just heavy metals. A lot of other chemicals will come out at that time. And there's different herbs, supplements, and things we incorporate then to activate this movement of this toxicity. And so as that starts to release now, your binders are going through, timing it, and they're mopping up these chemicals, these toxins, these heavy metals, grabbing hold of them, moving them out. Once we get familiar with the heavy metal cleansing, we then can look at those lovely little organisms that are living in our bodies. Mm-hmm. You know, those little wriggly worms and flukes and parasites that are lurking in your body. Mm-hmm. You know, I saw a video the other day. They talked about different autoimmune diseases. Yes. And talked about parasites living in your brain, eating little channels through your brain. You know, and I was just like, wow, we know they're in the gut. You know, we know that because you can take a anti-parasite herbs and next thing you pass worms. You know, we know they're there, but to think they're in these other places,
that's the scary thing. And I watched the same video, just it must have been yesterday or the day before. Yes. And I'm just sitting there and I'm going, OMG, because we don't realize that, you know, like we worm our dogs and our cats and our chooks, and we do different bits and pieces. But when was the last time we actually dewormed ourselves? I can't remember.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was one of the big thoughts that I was going to ask you about. So yeah, parasites. Yeah. How do we get rid of them?
Yeah. So once again, they are like these toxins, right? They don't just stay in one area. They're not just sitting in our gut waiting for us to have a worming tablet. You know, these things are lurking in all different places. So one thing you don't want to do is start parasite cleansing before you've done all those other steps. Now, the reason being is because these organisms love to use your toxins, your heavy metals, to build their cell walls out of. Mm-hmm. And they can even, certain bacteria can build what's known as biofilms, right? They build this biofilm and they hide behind it. So your immune system is looking around going, where's the enemy? But they've got this stealth covering, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah.
Hiding under there. And so the parasites are intelligent. They're like, wow, look at this bacteria. This bacteria is building all this biofilm. Let's hop under there and hang with those cats because the immune system can't see us here.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we're looking at is how can we break down biofilms? How can we expose the organisms? How can we poison the organisms and make sure we eliminate the organisms? Because if you poison them without doing the other steps that I've told you, you're going to kill these organisms off. And as they break down, what are they going to release? What are they going to release in your body? All the heavy metals that they built their cell walls and their protective covers out of.
Yep. Yep.
So it's essential to go through those other steps before we get to the little grovelies that are living in our body. Mm-hmm. Because if you go killing them off, when you haven't opened up the elimination pathways, you're going to feel horrible. So
yeah, because it's like doing a big dump.
Yes.
Toxicity into your body.
Exactly.
Yeah, which is not going to help anything.
Yeah, that's right. So that would be the basic process that I would run someone through. Basic, I call it a basic process. For some people are like, whoa, but it's just starting simple steps of incorporating these things into your lifestyle.
Which is a good thing. And I suspect that what you said earlier makes more sense than anything else. It's something you have to do on a regular basis. It's not just like take one tablet and then go from there. So far we've talked about detoxing, pulling minerals out, doing all the metals, the heavy metals, the nasty stuff, the parasites. Now, how is that helping you to say detox within your arteries and that sort of stuff? So if you wanted to, there's a lot, we talked about this earlier too, is the whole cayenne pepper thing, which I've just gotten myself into, which seems to be very different to just eating red chilies, which I grow and love.
Yes.
So there is a difference because, for whatever reason, cayenne pepper is different. So that's good for detoxing the blood. So in this process that you're talking us through, the pathways and opening those pathways, what's the step into that, or does it do it automatically as part of what you're doing?
Yeah, so a lot of herbs that are going to really support liver, kidney, and your lymph, they're going to help move toxins out. Mm-hmm. And like you're speaking about the cayenne pepper, cayenne pepper is very unique because if you're bleeding, it can help the body clot quickly to stop the bleed. And then if you're not bleeding, it can help with circulation and make sure you're moving blood around. And so you're not requiring pharmaceutical meds to thin your blood. We all know those ones, the rat poisoning ones. Mm-hmm. You're not requiring those because now you've got a herb actually thinning the blood rather than some chemical that someone's making a heap of money off, right? So these herbs are all going to work together and it's going to go throughout the body. Once you start the cleansing, it really will start in the gut, the elimination, and then the liver will dump. And the more you cleanse, slowly you're going to work your way up to this profound piece of gear right here.
Yes.
Because this is the hardest place to get them out, right? Mm-hmm. And this is the problem, this is why I am spewing that I had so many of these things pushed in my arm as a kid, because these are all nanoparticles that I wish wasn't in there because they are so small. They're going to go through, they've bypassed all your protection pathways of the gut. The gut will say, no, this shouldn't be in the body, and it has the chance to get it out through the gut. But when it's coming in here, it goes through the body and will quickly cross the blood-brain barrier and end up in your brain. And so that's one of the hardest places to pull it out is your brain. And one of the last places your body will actually let go of these toxins. So as you draw the toxicity out of your gut, the liver, your organs, and then start pulling on your cells, then it's going to start to let go from the brain. So it's just a progressive process that takes time. And that's why I say this has to become a lifestyle, not something you do once a year or once every 6 months. It's got to be a lifestyle. And when I say it's got to be part of your lifestyle, I talk about it like this. You're not necessarily doing a strict detox every day where you're taking all these things. But say today is not a detox day for me, I'm going to wake up, water, lemon juice, turmeric, put some of my goji berry and schizandra berry powder in, you know, because it's very supportive of the liver. And then we put some cayenne pepper in there, you know, so that's just an elixir, you know, this golden elixir. I love calling it the golden elixir because it's just glowing. And they put a bit of olive oil in there too. And that's just what I'm drinking down in the morning. I don't see it as a detox product, but it's supporting detoxification on so many levels as just part of my day-to-day regime.
Yeah, I think it's a good thing. It's funny, this morning while I had sort of done some of my paperwork and I'm doing bits and pieces, I actually wrote out my fast soup recipe for a group that I belong to.
Yes.
And it's really, you know, we learn about the fast thing where, you know, 2 days here, you know, and the other sort of 5 days over there, or you can do 3 and 2 and the 3 and 5 and the 5-2 and the whatever, all these different things. And so did a bit of research and read Michael Mosley's book on fasting and the importance of, as you said earlier, actually pushing your fasting out so your body's actually becoming awake and then functioning without the need for it. And I'm finding that at the moment with everything that I've been changing, I'm actually not feeling even hungry until, you know, 10:30, 11 o'clock, which means my fasting is running from when I have my dinner at whatever time, say at the latest somewhere around 9 o'clock in the evening, and then sort of I'm not having anything for a pretty solid 12 hours after that. And I've noticed that change. I'm not waking up hungry, starving in the morning, and I can go longer and I just have my water. But where I was getting at with my fast soup, it's really interesting because it's no starchy veggies. It's just what veggies we either grow or have in the fridge, cut up into smaller pieces, cooked with pepper and turmeric and curry powders and stuff like that, which is a range of different things, and fresh chili and fresh garlic and ginger and basically about 100 grams of protein in skinless chicken. Now I do that twice a week. I've been doing that twice a week for at least 3 years that I can think of off the top of my head as a dinner in you know, somewhere around 5:30, 6 o'clock. Later on a Pilates night, because we get home from Pilates, so it'll be about 7:30 by the time I cook it. But it, you know, I just had to sit down because someone asked me to write it down for them, and it's like it's only about like 10 minutes of prep. It's only about 10 minutes of cook time, and I'm cooking it in good water. Get the veggies, get the stuff boiling, whatever. And what I find is that one bowl of that is just straight veggies, all good. They're not cooked to mush. And whatever we've got growing in the garden generally ends up in there as well. So it's seasonal. So I'm eating, you know, the seasonal stuff. But just that alone, I feel good because that's 2 days a week where I know I'm limiting my calories. I'm putting good food into my body. The turmeric I've recently added into it, and that just gives it another different flavor base, because everyone says, how can you have soup, you know, twice a week for 3 years or more? Because it tastes different every time, because you know, I might be a bit more than half a teaspoon with that dark curry roasted powder that I use, or with the paprika that I use, and it might be a smoked paprika versus a normal paprika, and the turmeric, I'm just playing with how much I like to have in that. You know, it's not actually too hard, I don't think, once you've got the basics together, and it's not just detoxing what's up in here, it's detoxing the thought processes. You know, and this is what we've talked about, that holistic approach to mind, body, not so much mind, body, spirit, mind, body, energy. And so that's the thing. So so now we've gone through the sort of general pathways and opening those pathways. How do people gauge how long it's likely to take them? You know, because that's the other thing. People will do something for a little bit of time, not a lot of time, because they want that silver bullet. But on average, I mean, if there is an average,
Yep.
what would people expect maybe after a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month? How long?
So we often get questions like this: how long is it going to take me to get my toxins out? It's like, hold on, let me analyze. How many toxins do you have in your body? What do you do? What's your stress levels like? Where do you live? What are you breathing? What are you eating? So you can't put a time on it for one, because everyone is so different. But what I recommend is looking at different ways of cleansing. You know, it could be 1 day water fast. You just drink water for 1 day. It could be just juice for 1 day. It could be waking up, having lemon juice, water, cayenne pepper, turmeric powder every morning for the next week, and you don't eat until lunchtime. You know, it comes in so many shapes and forms, these cleansers, you know. So there's no real one shape, one thing fits all, and everyone's going to get that same response, because we're all so different. So depending on the type of cleanse, a lot of the time I see, once people start with moving rubbish out of the bowels, within days, they're seeing pretty profound changes. Because when people have been bound up for so long and so sluggish in the bowels and so much waste just sitting there, and you start moving it out, they just feel like you've just put a new Energizer battery in them, and off they go. They're ready to party, you know. And the same as, you know, different superfoods over the years. You know, like I love chlorella, which is it's a microalgae. You can get it all over the world, chlorella. Super green. Like I love just mixing that in water and just drinking that down, because when you get something that's so green, and we're used to like meats and breads and all this highly acidic stuff, right? And we still get through the day. But once you start putting this like green, rich algae that's so nutrient dense, it just goes in, and you actually feel that go into your body and start moving through your system. I mean, you feel alive, you know. And so really looking at different detox methods and pathways and things that you can do is just going to be becoming part of your life. But everyone's got the latest detox out there, you know, and I think it's just experimenting and listening to people, listening to their story. Where have they come from? What have they experienced? You know, for me, I don't have the academic credentials hanging on my wall. It was 25 years of healing myself, going on my own journey, and then watching others heal, you know, and that's where I've learned now quickest ways to help people detox. So I don't think there's any time we can put on for anyone, because everyone will be different. But in general, when you get it right and doing the sorts of things that I'm talking about, I find within days, people are feeling great. Within months, people are having profound changes. But once again, just depends what their life is like. You know, what are they doing? Are they stressed? Because
Exactly.
if you're stressed, you're not detoxing really well, you know. And that's where we talked about forest bathing in the past, getting in nature, because if you can de-stress your body will let go of toxicity much more easily.
Exactly. And that was in issue 42. We did the forest bathing chat, and
Yeah.
getting into nature is exactly, you know, I think, as I said to you earlier, you know, walking around the botanic gardens in the dark, you know, we're still out there and amongst all the trees and the plants. It's just they've got lights and music. And what I found was the excitement, you know, of people. And we're talking hundreds, I couldn't even tell you, hundreds and hundreds of people that are going through the botanic gardens. And it's their excitement and their energy that actually flows into you. You know, we talk about this holistic healing process of mind, body, energy. Well, you know, you get the mind into a good space, then you do what you need to do to the body, but the energy, that comes from doing exactly that, walking around in nature, and the energy of thousands of people being in that one space, all excited. I don't think I heard a kid cry. I don't think I heard a person say an angry word. They were, and you know, there were people pushing past people, and you know, trying to take a photo, and someone walks through, and then they'll turn around and say, "Oh, look, I'm really sorry," you know. And that was the beautiful thing about getting into that space. So,
Yes.
So one
Yeah.
other thing then, we've sort of covered the using natural foods versus product,
Yes.
because if you can use the natural food, or you can use a product that's derived from
Yep.
rather than pharmaceutical, then we've got our best bets.
Yes.
What would so what would people expect to either pay or do? And I know this is sort of, we didn't really touch on this in too much discussion, but I just
Yep.
feel people need to know that you can actually start this process without it costing you an arm and a leg. And when we're living in such a money-driven society at the moment, where cost of living is going through the roof,
Yes.
your suggestions about organic foods, that sort of thing, what are your thoughts in that space?
So yeah, I did an article years ago about doing organic food on a budget, and it's the simple thing, it's going to the farmers market, it's talking to the farmers, it's talking to your neighbours. I live in the hills in Perth, so we have a lot of food growing in the area. So I went over to the neighbours the other day. He's got limes on his tree. He's got avocados, and I do an exchange. I make some sauerkraut and I take some food off him. The whole barter system comes back in action. Now, right now, I want lemon and limes. I've just gone through the last 6 months with no lemons, and now they're here, and it's one of the cheapest detox things you can do for your body, and they grow everywhere.
Yes.
For someone who's on a really tight budget, doing simple things like your lemon, your cayenne pepper, and like I said, the turmeric. Turmeric, you can buy a kilo of organic turmeric for probably $60 out there if you shop around, and that's going to last you so long. And that turmeric's working on your liver. It's working on helping seal the gut, or the leaky gut that people are experiencing. You've got the lemon going through purifying your kidneys and cleansing the liver as well. So that's a very cheap start, just doing things like that. And that's how I'd recommend people go if it is costly, if it doesn't fit their budget. I would follow that path initially. But then, you could easily step into the world of detox products for under $100, something that could last you a month. And then it goes up from there. I've paid thousands of dollars for different detox kits, that I've experimented with over the years, and really loved them too, and had profound changes. So cost-wise it's very broad. It can change so much, and there's so many things you can do. Like aloe vera, we got aloe vera going out there. So anyone with leaky gut, you get your turmeric, your lemon, your aloe vera, put this little drink together, the gel out of the aloe vera, and you're healing the body. You're supporting detoxification from within.
Yep.
So
it really does take a little bit of research, depending on where you are in Australia and around the globe, really, because we're talking about a global thing that can be done. So just doing the research, making sure that research is backed up with some sort of good either science or life experience. I could have probably chased around and found 20 different naturopaths and this doctor and that doctor. They're all qualified to talk about it. However, I felt as a guy interviewing a guy, when guys seem to be the biggest self-destructing bombs that we see out there. I thought your lived experience is equally as important as anything you would learn in a university.
Yes, and I agree with you from what I've viewed from my eyes, because many years ago I thought, I should study naturopathy. And the 4 years I would have lost back then in that point of momentum that I had with helping people with their health, it's like I would have been staring at a screen all the time, or in class. I would have seen it as wasting 4 years, because I was doing so much work with people through my personal experience. It's like, I tried this, I've applied it to other people, seeing great results. Why don't you try that and see how you go? And so I think you really got to find your guru as well. Like, who are you going to choose to use as your guide? Because like you say, it's so complex out there, and we don't know, like, is this a good product? Is this guy just making sales? I think look at the person, and are they offering you cheap alternatives? Are they offering you ways to help themselves without selling you something? You know, it's a good trait to find in a person, I think.
Yeah, no, it's good advice. Good advice. And
So
I
it's
think sorry, go on.
Yeah, so it's just not the hard sell, because, you know, I sell products. I've got that's how my company runs, is selling quality products, you know, and there are millions of quality products out there. So you really just got to look at the story behind it, I think, what they're doing, and how are they supporting you if you're not buying everything in their shop right now, you know.
Exactly. I think I think that's one of the reasons why it's good talking to you about this stuff. I mean, yes, you know, we're going to put details of your website with the video. We've got you in our stories featured, and, you know, so there are links going to be there for people to chase it down. But it's understanding you, the person, that makes the difference. And if I'm going to say sort of one final piece of suggestion for people, if you're watching something on any social media that waffles on for more than 10 minutes, then you know there's something going on in that space, and just get out of it. Because if it takes, I just have this thing, if it takes more than, you know, 15, 20 minutes of saying, but watch till the end and we'll tell you what to do. And if this happens, we'll give you that, and blah, blah, blah. But, you know, just give me 30 more seconds to explain. And then 5 minutes later, you're still going. No, I don't know who came up with that thought that that's a good way to sell product. It probably works for some people. But for me, I don't have 20 minutes to sit and watch a video on explaining all the virtues of something, and then you don't even get to the end, and even then you don't even get a price properly.
Yes.
So, you know, this is why doing your research is so critical. But look, your website, superhealth.com.au.
Yes, that's right.
And you'll be featuring in issue 43 of Supernal Magazine. We're going to have, between you and some of the other guests that we've been talking to, we're offering readers a really interesting balance of looking at how to detox. And yes, there are similarities because they're natural products. There is natural products to do it. So, you know, this is what I love. But we'll have recipes and all that sort of stuff out there. So,
and can I throw in a little tip? This is another, you know, a thing that people can do, because I encourage people, especially if you don't have a big budget, is make cultured foods, fermented foods, sauerkraut, kimchi, things like this. They're so easy, right? You can go out to the organic farmers market, grab a cabbage, an onion, garlic, turmeric, ginger, carrot, go home, chop it all up, throw it in a jar with a salt water mix, and let it sit on your shelf for 7 days. And then boom, you've got this supercharged nutrition that you can be eating every day, sealing and healing your gut, supporting your body through detoxification and all of these good things, helping you absorb more nutrition from your food. And we can all do that really easily. So
yeah, cool. Now, have you got a recipe or something on the website?
I've got a video on my Facebook on how to make different krauts and things like that. So
okay, cool. Well, maybe we'll get that link off you, and we might supply that link in the paper interview when we put the next Supernal issue out. So, all right, folks. Well, look, we're going to wrap it up there. Damian, once again, thanks for the honest and real chat. You know, it's very nice to work with somebody that, yes, we know you manufacture good products, because I've used them prior to even meeting you, so that's even better. So, but, you know, we're about educating people with Supernal, and having people come on and just, not so much every second is about their product, but just give broad stuff. I just love that, and I really appreciate that. So I just want to say thank you very much for your candidness and openness.
Well, thanks for having me, Anthony. I always enjoy these chats now since they've started. So
it's a bit of fun.
I love what you're doing. Thank you.
Excellent. And for people that are watching this video, if you go to www.supernalmagazineaustralia.com.au, you can get access to all our issues. It's free to subscribe. We've got videos, we've got podcasts, we've got all the back issues, all available from the website. And we would encourage you to jump online and subscribe, and keep Supernal running. So have a Supernal month, and thank you very much again, Damian.
Thank you. See ya.
Cheers.